Damn! We are back with another episode of Boob Tubers Boys. We're back in 1976, covering more Holmes and Yoyo. I'm Brian Vaughn. There's two other people here. They're cool. They're also in the 70s. These cool cats are Van Lee.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Maybe. I don't know.
Is that something you can offer?
No,
You
not
got
on a
that in you?
podcast at all. No.
See, I'm actually counting 2 plus another 2. We also got Holmes and Yoyo with us. So really, there's 4 of us.
We carry them
adding on
with us
plus you.
everywhere we go.
Yeah, they're always here.
That's Spencer Hendricks. He understands the intrinsic value of Holmes and Yoyo.
Spencer, should we punch Brian in the nose to see if he checks pictures? Because he might be a robot.
That'd be so funny if that was a universal way of knowing.
Of robot.
You ever tried fucking hitting him in the face? Or just any of that stuff, like, get him in front of a garage door and just sort of watch.
Let's see how Will Smith reacts in this iRobot movie.
Does he have to walk backwards when there's a camera? What is it, like a sensor? When there's a
yes, that's
sensor
our
over
eye.
the door?
Yeah. Is he a very poorly
Is he
conceived robot?
427 pounds?
This week's a little different. We're firmly in the middle of the first and only season of Holmes and Yoyo now. We're in episode 5, titled Yoyo Takes a Bride, where Yoyo and Maxine go undercover as a pair of honeymooners at a resort hotel. That's charitable. But the computerized Yoyo isn't programmed to respond romantically, and Maxine isn't to where he's a robot. First off, I'd like to apologize for in the...
I was so confused about that.
Yes, when I when I announced the episodes we'd be covering, I announced this one as Yoyo Takes a Bribe.
Which would have been interesting.
Did you?
Yes, because some sort of article I was reading had listed the episode.
They did a typo of it.
Yeah, and I just assumed, like, that's weird given I know what the synopsis is, but whatever.
Is it weirder than the being titled Yoyo Takes a Bride? Really?
I'm trying to imagine how that
Exactly.
episode would have differed if it had been. I was thinking like he was corrupted for a little bit, like maybe he went wrong and he had to be stopped.
No,
shot
this
dead
is all
cold.
about if Yoyo can fuck or not. That's kind of
I think we know the answer to that.
what Yoyo Takes a Bride is all about. So I apologize for saying Yoyo Takes a Bribe publicly, and then also for releasing that information in intra-company emails.
It will be a great shame forever.
And also making us watch Holmes and Yoyo.
That's the ultimate thing. And before this episode begins, before we get to see exactly what Yoyo's packing or whatever, we get the synopsis that tells us all about Holmes and Yoyo, and rather than me explain it again or count on all of you listening to our last episode for sure, I think we should all listen to it one more time.
You've got 4 partners in the hospital. Come on, Alex, you're a good cop.
By the way, who's my new partner?
We call him Yoyo. He weighs 427 pounds. He's a completely mobile computer, specially programmed for police work.
Is he indestructible?
We think so.
Send in Holmes.
I'll put him with the worst
This is
cop in the
top
force.
secret. No one, including Holmes, must know his identity.
Alex, no, don't.
Don't touch my belly.
You're not a person.
You're not going to tell them?
In my book, you got to make
Let's
some
send you to
good
the
cop.
bunker
That's what I put
squad.
in my report.
Anybody that shits into a little bag that pops
It's
out
all
their
right
side.
by me.
So yeah, that's again the premise of the show and a real delight to listen to. Again, if you've not watched just that intro on YouTube, just go watch that and never watch another second of these characters. And I'd also, this is irrelevant, but this episode's produced by a guy named Arnie Sultan.
Oh,
Sultan
Mr.
is a
Yeah.
cool last name. Yeah, please. Mr. Sultan was my father. Call me Arnie.
call me Babe Ruth.
We first see the Hideaway Inn Motel, which is in no way a resort hotel.
It's barely a motel
Yeah,
at that
It's
point.
a shitty, seedy motel that married couples apparently go to all the time.
Mm-hmm. We get some 70s music rocking as Holmes and Yoyo arrive on site at the Hideaway Inn and meet up with the owner, Henry Cobb, who directs them to room 11 where it happened. And it turns out to be a robbery of a married couple. Whenever Holmes knocks on the door, who should answer but the police chief?
Chief, you got here first.
Very good Holmes impression, Van. Very good work there.
And I like how the insinuation here is that the chief is fucking someone that isn't his wife in this place.
Yeah, because he's there and it's not for the job either. He's there for personal reasons.
He's there for fun.
Yeah. And
Not at all.
he's the guy that's been robbed, as it turns out. So Holmes starts questioning the chief about what's going on. when a woman walks out of the bathroom.
What are you doing in a motel room anyway? You can do better than that, Chief. That's my wife. She's lovely.
So yeah, a little open misogyny there, just kind of as a little throwaway joke. That's fun.
She's wearing the Union Jack as a full body like nightgown.
Big
too.
William Regal fan. We find out that it's the chief's brother-in-law who actually owns the Hideaway Inn motel. And the reason the chief and his wife are there is that their house is getting painted, which apparently means get the fuck
Gotta
out.
move out.
Yeah. And bring all your possessions and your most valuable ones.
All your jewelry, everything you own.
To be fair, I guess it was probably like lead paint at that time.
True.
So they were just like, well, put as much poison in this paint as you can. Let's put it on the wall.
And Edna, who's the chief's wife, well, all of her jewelry got stolen, but we get the story of what went down.
They beat each other.
Which is they beat each other.
and they play it up for such laughs. Like, you beat your wife.
Mm-hmm. The chief, first off, wakes his wife up because his snoring is so loud. Then the chief wakes up and sees a figure going through the drawers in the motel room. He thinks this is a burglar and he whops Edna in the head with a shoe.
Mm-hmm.
She's just going through her own stuff. She gets mad, then hits him and whomps him on the head.
With a hairdryer.
With a hairdryer. So they're both injured at each other's hands. Despite this has nothing to do with the burglary, which would have already happened between 12 and 2. Edna's jewelry was the target. There's no sign of forced entry, so it must be some sort of inside job. And in this scene, we get our first instance in episode 5 of Yo-Yo getting stuck. This time he's saying, we'll get on it right away.
The Bunko Squad.
Yeah, it's another Bunko Squad. And that's Yo-Yo reassuring the police chief, we're not going to let you down. We will find Edna's precious jewels.
Oh, and by the way, at one point they're asking the chief and his wife, what was happening. Tell us what was going on. And she says that I got up to get my pills, which I'm curious, what do you think the police chief's wife's pills were at this
Birth
point?
control.
They fuck endlessly. These
In
are
their
like 60-year-old
50s.
people. Yeah.
Clearly wouldn't need them.
58's the hottest year.
It has to be Xanax so she can tolerate him.
Yeah, I would imagine. The chief is a very demanding, annoying man. We go back to the police station where our captain calls our boys into his office. We've seen this happen a lot. And the chief follows in and says, you know what, I'm taking full charge of this case since I'm so personally involved, and that's legal.
Yeah, I was going to say it. I'm not sure that ethically makes any sense.
He demands to see the report of what happened.
Oh, no.
Tell us about the next 5 minutes of jokes,
right.
Brian.
Oh my God, this is horrible. So this is another repetition gag where everyone tries to figure out who has the original report for 10, 20, 30 minutes until Holmes says, fine, I'll read the report. And it breaks down again when he's like, I really need the original one, though. And there's no reason given for why anyone would specifically need the original other than we need to kill time.
I think maybe the implication was that photocopiers got worse the more copies you made.
Could be.
Because he was like, I can't read this. I need the original.
Good call. I didn't know that.
But is that a thing?
Yeah, because the show is bad. I had a lot of trouble knowing whether or not that was like the intent or what the deal was. And one thing about the chief, I found him very short-sighted in both these episodes. But here, when he just freaks the fuck out, I get it. I was
right in this
freaking out
case,
about
yeah.
everybody saying original so many times. Ugh. Ugh.
Plus, he's a little agitated anyway because he just got beat with that hairdryer. So
Exactly.
he's got that bruised kind of lump
He's
on his
probably
head.
got CTE.
And you say it's a bruised kind of lump. It looks like a cancerous lesion.
It's so
it
big.
looks horrible.
I don't think that hairdryer was a hairdryer.
No.
if she hit him and caused
It was a
that,
tire iron.
she got all Dr. Barry
Yeah,
Mayfield
that's
on
what I
him.
was going to say. She went straight Barry Mayfield from Columbo. We get more exposition here, though, too, guys. We find out that Henry Cobb is as I mentioned before, the chief's wife's brother. He just bought this motel a month ago, and there have been robberies once per week, always of affluent couples who are staying at the motel for some sort of occasion. When this gets brought up, my first thought was the brother-in-law is the one doing it from the inside to cover his debt from buying the motel. That is not the case, so good for Holmes and Yoyo for subverting my expectations.
No, it was one of the other 4 characters you meet in this episode.
Yeah, they set up a locked room mystery where you don't care. That's not the way to do it, guys, unfortunately. Yo-Yo repeats that he thinks this is an inside job because, I mean, it has to be. There's no forced entry. And the group comes up with the genius plan, and everyone agrees on it, of creating a team of officers, one dude, one woman, to pose as wealthy newlyweds. Everyone says, I like that, over and over again in another repetition gag.
I like that.
Before the chief decides the couple will be played by Maxine and by Yo-Yo. And no one likes that idea. They're afraid Yo-Yo is not going to know how his dick works, and they can't tell the chief that because he doesn't know that Yo-Yo's a robot.
The only people that know that Yo-Yo is a robot are Holmes and the
captain.
The captain.
Yes.
And Yo-Yo.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
is he self-aware? That's the question.
He sure seems to be. Really, what is a soul?
The questions that Holmes and Yo-Yo brings to light.
I had another question too, which is the Henry Cobb, right? Is that his name?
Oh, Henry Cobb, the motel owner.
The
yeah.
motel owner, yeah. Did he go on to have a son named Bob Cobb who was the maestro? Do you think that's the same Cobb family?
I hope so. And Alex Cobb, who pitched in the major
All the
leagues.
Cobbs.
All of those Cobbs.
Corn cob
Yeah.
holds all the corn on the cob.
Useless thing too. Can't even digest it.
Bullshit.
This fucking...
My people can.
Yeah,
Maybe not
you do
yours.
Oh.
You do a different way though.
yeah,
a whole
you
different
just know
style.
how.
Yeah.
It
Well,
takes a little know-how.
little elbow grease to digest corn.
This scene, though, it's all about the fact that everyone who's in the know, which is, again, really the captain and Holmes, they're really concerned that Yo-Yo could again be naturally assumed a robot because he doesn't understand the tenets of human affection. Which I think, again, you should quit assuming the assumption.
That would have just been a man in the 70s and really, now,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
Well, that's, watching all these cops bumble and be really stupid, it makes me think just like, do they just take anybody off the streets? And then it hit me, yeah, that's what cops are. It's just random people off the street
Given
with
power.
no background check, given ultimate unchecked power.
And who's to say some of them are not 427-pound robot men?
No one can know for sure.
Holmes, at this point, tries to explain what the honeymoon is, its societal importance, what people are expecting of you when you're on your honeymoon to Yo-Yo. And I'm not sure Holmes really gets it either.
If you're looking to Holmes to be a romantic man and tell you how to seduce a woman, I think you're looking at the wrong person, unless you're asking, has this man seduced a meatloaf at some point in his life?
Has this man become sexually acquainted with Stofers? Holmes does his best to try to just say, like, hey, you gotta be affectionate to Maxine, all right? Don't act like you're not some sort of robot or nothing. And at this point, we understand that this scheme actually is more in-depth than we thought. The police have gone to the trouble to print a fake article in the local paper to let everyone know that there's going to be a wealthy Yoyanovich couple staying at the Hideaway Inn.
Which I guess you can do?
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, no news story I've ever read in my life. It's good to know
a
that
front page story.
and then they'll be staying at the Hideaway Inn and going on a trip around the world.
And
afterwards.
this is the biggest story in a town that can afford robot police officer technology.
Well, I'll take over for a moment here. I have a bit of a special thing for you gentlemen.
Ooh.
At some point, they hold up the newspaper that they're talking about putting that ad in, and it says, let's see, Moon Heiress Weds is the headline there, which makes it sound like she's heiress to the moon.
Yeah.
Which
cool.
is so cool, yeah.
The paper itself is called The Social Swirl. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No.
There are two other headlines there. One being Rick Thomas wings to Paris holiday, and the other is Rafael Hernandez to visit Madrid.
Wow.
I see these headlines. You can't read much. It's really bad
So this
quality.
is kind of like some sort of like New York Post celebrity
I guess.
type.
The social
That's
swirl.
the second one is the most generic thing ever. He's just to visit Madrid.
Rafael Hernandez to visit Madrid.
Really? I didn't
How
think he'd make it there.
scandalous.
So I personally couldn't read all that and just let it go. I wanted to see if Rafael Hernandez and who's the other one? Rick Thomas were real people,
Way to go.
particularly at that era. I Googled Rick Thomas first and the year and all that and didn't find anything, but was immediately distracted and spent the rest of my time looking at something else that I'm going to tell you gentlemen about here. Apparently, there is a famous person, and I put famous in air quotes here, named Rick Thomas, who performs in Branson, Missouri.
Oh, proximity to us.
That's right. For the listeners who don't know, Branson's very close to where we're sitting right at this very moment
I can
in
see it.
Ozark, Missouri.
I can smell it.
So I know what you guys are thinking. Rick Thomas must be a singer, a dancer, a lounge singer, one of those performers. But I would tell you,
Maybe a magician.
you're wrong. Rick Thomas is, in fact, an illusionist.
Hell yes.
Yeah, that's the best possible thing he could have been.
Did he know Welford and Van Birch when he was in Branson, do you think?
I think they all knew one another.
I saw Welford and Van Birch like 2 or 3 times as a kid
Really?
in Branson, yeah.
Did you like them?
I was into it.
Well,
yeah.
you were young, so yeah.
Yeah, I was single-digit age, but I loved it.
Kirby Van Birch is who you're also referencing there. He abandoned his white tigers at his theater when he couldn't pay the bills, and they had to be taken in by a
That's
tiger
fucked
sanctuary.
up.
It's like terrible
He
shit.
should have sold some of his fucking Matador jackets to pay for those tigers to have a good home.
And yet he didn't. No, he's a piece of trash. So this illusionist Rick Thomas has a website, several websites, rickthomas.com and rickthomas.net.
Several websites, some of them are fake to
So-
throw you off because he's an illusionist.
I printed out some pictures of Rick Thomas that I'd like you two to take a look at. So I'm going to pass those out now.
All right. Van is standing up and he's passing out large 8.5 by 11 photos of Rick Thomas. And what we've got here is, I'll go ahead and describe what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
We've got a cleft-chinned man with, I'll admit it, some dancing hair and a bit of a squat face. And in one of these photos, we also have a man with what is probably a false mustache that is
And
very...
a couple of birds.
Yeah, a couple birds, and this is a dense rope of a mustache. There's a white tiger
think
in
it's
one
real.
of these photos, too.
It's all very amazing. Now, I have more for you gentlemen as well.
Okay.
I will tell you some Rick Thomas facts courtesy of his website, rickthomas.com. First, his catchphrase, which is featured prominently at the top of the
I hope
site.
he has billboards.
It is, nothing happens until you dream. Pretty
Yeah.
illusionist,
That
right?
sounds like the kind of stuff Freddy Krueger tells you before he gets into your dream.
There's a quote front and center on the site that says, Rick Thomas is not just the best magician in Vegas. I guess he was in Vegas for a while.
He's not in Vegas at all.
He's the best magician, period. And that comes from Showbiz Magazine.
Rick Thomas is not only the best magician in Vegas, he's the best magician in Branson, Missouri.
He was awarded Magician of the World from the World Magic Awards.
This
which
rules.
I'm sure delightful.
This is a happy accident.
Mhm. He has had 5 world tours in over 50 countries, and then it's like ... 5 continents, as if that didn't cover all of it.
Is Rick Thomas the flashy magician name he chose?
I don't know. I'm going to have to guess.
Because that doesn't sound like David Copperfield or
No.
Chris Angel.
He was awarded Stage Magician of the Year by the Academy of Magical Arts, which is a thing, apparently.
The original AMA before Reddit got a hold of that.
And then he has had numerous television appearances on NBC, ABC, CBS, Discovery Channel, MTV, Animal Planet, Hallmark, and of course, where you would expect to see a magician, the History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So
What's more
when's this
historical?
next show? When are we going?
They're currently going, like the legit going right now.
So we should probably go see one of these
Oh.
shows and
Oh,
do
yeah.
a bonus episode
I'm
on
definitely seeing him.
So his act, by the way, I watched a little video. It was like a promo thing, and it has a helicopter in it. I did want
it.
to point that
so
out.
he is a little cool.
And then finally, my last thing I want to do here is, much like the YouTube comments, I would like to read you reviews of the Rick Thomas Illusion Hour on TripAdvisor with a little bit of a caveat here.
Mm-hmm.
I picked the bad reviews because those are fun. And there were, by the way, hundreds of them. And I'll just say it here. He comments on most of them as a response.
One of my favorite things as a performer who takes every little comment personally.
Just you wait, buddy. All right.
Real Jeremy Renner type.
MMG-STL from St. Louis, Missouri says, 3 stars, not worth your time. And this was from November 2021, recently. Decent show, some very good illusions, but no real wow factor. I did not like all the plots for money. $20 to pet the dog, text for magic secrets to money success, download the app and pay a fee for lifetime access, too much begging for money for me. The high energy description was very misleading.
Has this guy ever been to Branson?
The show was slow paced and did not do much to hold my attention. Overall, I'd pass. So again,
Reasonable.
Rick Thomas decides to respond to this. He says, my friend, it is not $20 to pet the dogs. Having a professional photo taken with them gives you the opportunity to pet the dogs. They are sweethearts. My online magic set that you can pay a lifetime fee for is pennies. It is an opportunity to both adults and children to enjoy magic without having to pay a premium price for a magic set. Unlike many of the shows in Branson, there is no begging for money in my show. My very best wishes to you this holiday season. May your life always be touched by magic.
Rick Thomas. Do you think he's met Wayne Newton of Renegade fame?
Oh, 100%. All right, next up we have Casey from also St. Louis, apparently.
Okay.
3 stars. It was okay.
Can you imagine driving down from St. Louis to see
Watching
Rick
that.
Thomas and Branson?
Casey says, it was okay for what it was. It was cute for kids, but if you watched a lot of magicians and shows, you can figure out how most of the tricks are done. I did not like the fact that you had to pay $20 to take a picture with his dog.
People don't like that.
I
No.
love that that's a recurring. I actually think that that's one of the more acceptable parts of this.
Sure, I'd love to pet
Dogs
the dog
are
and take a
cool.
picture. They're great Pyrenees, by the way, big dogs.
Big
And
fluffy fuckers.
They says it was great for kids. That's the final thing there. By the way, I also really hate people who are like, I want to go to a magic show because I can figure out how it's done.
Yeah.
That's not the fucking
Those are the
point.
people who watch some fucking bullshit show like NCIS and like, yeah, I figured out who the killer was before
10
before
minutes
anyone
in.
else did.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but this is also not a real show.
Well, Rick Thomas responded to this one, of course. He says, my very best wishes to you. There are a few accolades under my belt. I received highest award in magic, illusionist of the world from the World Magic Awards.
Illusionist of the world.
The highest in the industry, not for children, for adults. It would be a pleasure to sit down with you and ask just how the show is accomplished. I would guess your statement regarding figuring out the show is a miss. The entire show is about following your dreams, making your dreams a reality.
And again, I'd like to reiterate, Rick Thomas does not perform only for children. Rick Thomas's NC-17 hour begins at 10 p.m.
Oh my. I will work harder on making sure the theme of the show extends beyond just figuring out a few tricks. My goal is to inspire and make you, an adult, realize that the best way to follow our dreams is to work on them together. Wishing you absolute happiness this holiday season. May your life always be touched by magic.
The best way to follow your dreams. Stage magic.
2 more here. This one's from Adrian Powers. That's Austin's brother, of course.
Oh.
Dallas, Texas.
Groovy, baby.
We got a out-of-stater here. 2 stars. It just didn't live up to our expectations. July 2021, last year. Honestly, my family and I have come out to Branson on vacation for a change of pace. We wanted it to be slower. I'm assuming is that change of pace.
Yeah. We want it to be frustrating to drive in.
We were visiting from Nevada and we were hoping for a really great show. Some illusions were good, but honestly, the show just wasn't up to par with the Las Vegas shows we're used to seeing.
I love how they thought that was possible.
in Branson, Missouri. The reason we chose him was because of his Vegas background, too. So maybe if his show was in someplace other than Branson, it might be better, but it just wasn't that great to us. Just our opinion.
The stench of Branson ruins him.
Rick R. Thomas commented, of course.
Uh-huh.
He says, I do my very best. Yes, I am blessed to be Branson's Entertainer of the Year, and also awarded a key to the city of Las Vegas as
Whoa.
the most successful show for families in Vegas, performing there for 15 straight years. I am not sure where we did not connect. I'd love to know what Vegas magic shows I am not on par with. I do hope you were reviewing the right show. Best wishes always, and thank you so much for your
A
visit.
negative review. It couldn't possibly be me, Rick Thomas. Spencer, it just occurred to me that we watched a movie called Next, where Nicolas Cage plays a Las Vegas magician whose dad is Peter Falk.
I, for some reason, am not drawing any kind of...
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage.
I believe you, 100%.
Same movie. Jessica Biel is sexually attracted to Nicolas Cage.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. This one's from Dave3232. Once again, I don't think that's the year he was born. I don't know. So Dave3232 is from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, another out-of-stater, who has given up 211 contributions on TripAdvisor for some reason.
He really wants everyone to know how the world is if you go there.
He's really into it. I bet part of him even choosing where to go is if he gets to leave a review.
Well, this was left in October of 2020. This is our oldest review. 3 stars, he says, disappointed. Like Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, disappointed!
By the way, if anyone hasn't seen this, there is a clip online of Kevin Sorbo reading a stage direction as if it's dialogue while filming Hercules.
And he's evil Hercules with a goatee.
Yeah,
Might
and
point that out.
It's a thing that you can watch over and over again and maybe cry.
Definitely
laughing.
check it out. All right, disappointed. 3 stars. I saw his show in Vegas at O'Shea's years ago with the huge white tigers. It was great then. This show was blah. On several of the illusions, you could see the mirrors, which ruined it for us. The Andy Williams Theater is huge and expansive. To us, the show was just okay. If you have other options, this is nothing that you can't miss. To which Rick R. Thomas responded, I'm sorry. I am told this is the finest production I have created. I tried.
Oh, so
He's
by
real
now,
short on that one.
He's worn out by now. He's been so diplomatic yet cutting in a way.
And we were going backwards in time, so he's actually been getting
gotten
increasingly
better.
patient.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll reach out to Rick Thomas. Maybe we can interview Rick Thomas
Get him on the
this
show.
for this TV show podcast that we run.
It fits. It fits.
Yeah, no, this was, I'm just going to say it right now, this was among my favorite little diversions we've ever taken into the world of Rick Thomas.
It's going to be hard to think about anything but Rick Thomas for a little bit now.
Rick Thomas.
We're going to really try, especially because the other thing we have to think about is fucking Holmes and Yo-Yo.
Which, how did that happen?
Yeah.
See, that's why I did this, is if you're really upset by the fact that we have to talk about Holmes and Yo-Yo, there's a little special
Which I
something in
am,
there.
Thomas.
so I'm glad that we misdirected. So, but let's go to the Hideaway Inn Motel, where a just married car is falling apart into the parking lot of the motel.
Well, she's the moon heiress. She doesn't have the moon yet.
No,
when her
she's-
dad dies, she'll
She's
get
gonna
the moon.
get the moon. And by the way, her character name Maxine Moon,
pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Also, porn star name for sure.
We see the motel, as Yo-Yo and Maxine walk in, and the bellhop, who's 52 or so, he leads them around the room to show off its features, which include a coin-operated vibrating bed.
You know, it's a thing
Staple
that's at
of
all
70s.
great resorts.
Yeah. And one of the things that, as police officers, Max and Yo-Yo have to do is see how the staff handle themselves to see if they might be robbers. Well, Max carefully removes her scarf to reveal expensive jewelry, to which the bellhop pops a massive boner and practically says awooga out loud, and his eyes pop out of his head and his tongue unrolls to the floor.
Does he say something like, I really like that?
Yeah, I think he says something like, I've never seen anything like that
Something like that.
before."
That's
'cause
what
she's
it
like,
was.
and you never will.
Yeah. Oh, man. And when I was first watching this, I had looked down to take a bite of something, and I assumed he was staring at her chest or something by the way that the lines were read.
Sure, it wasn't.
But no, it was whatever this expensive chain link necklace thing she has.
He wasn't exactly seeing the full moon. Huh?
Hey, that was good. Nor was this made by Full Moon Productions, operated by Charles Band.
It would somehow be better if
It would
were,
be.
And that's a horrible movie studio that makes crappy movies. Good on them.
That's a little harsh. They made Doll Man. Max has to give Yo-Yo a little bit of a pep talk throughout this whole process. Kind of like, come on, you gotta be normal. This is when we get maybe the only joke I think is funny in the whole show, because earlier in the episode, there's a little speech that Holmes gives to Yo-Yo about acting like a normal man. Do the routine things that a man does. Take a shower in the morning, brush your teeth, and yeah, you have to periodically remember to go to the bathroom and fake it. So, remembering this, Yo-Yo starts associating things, routine things, with honeymoons, rather than understanding that these are separate ideas he's supposed to carry at the same time. So, yeah, let's play an actual joke that is arguably decent.
Now, don't forget, Yo-Yo, we have to act like newlyweds.
Right. As soon as he comes out of there, I'll go in and flush the toilet.
So I actually think that's pretty funny.
It's probably the only
And
real funny
I think
thing in there.
Yo-Yo reads the line really well, too. He's so determined, like, yes, because I'm on a honeymoon, I know I need to flush the
And
toilet.
she is kind of like her reaction to that is a little bit like it's a little bit amusing too.
It
just in the
is.
way that she's like she has what the fuck's wrong with this guy sort of thing.
What is he, some sort of robot?
And with the bellhop still there, Yo-Yo's still trying to, like, commit to this, like, I know I'm a robot, but I can pull off human affection. He puts his arms around Max, which is just, he puts them around her like a hula hoop, and she's like, you gotta pull me closer. And then he almost squeezes her until her
Almost kills
head
her.
pops off. Yeah, he almost squeezes her to death. The bellhop comes back out practically begging for a tip. He's doing the little cash symbol with his fingers, rubbing his fingers together. And I mean, yeah, you want a tip for dealing with this. These people are supposed to be rich, but Yo-Yo doesn't know the human customs of tipping. So he's getting confused this whole time, and he thinks that the bellhop is broken like he gets broken.
Mhm.
So he fucking punches the bellhop in the sternum across the room.
And remember, he's 427
yeah,
pounds.
he's a big boy.
It's not just a normal punch.
And Maxine's in the room also, and at this point, she must be like, Yo-Yo is a violent monster.
I don't want to be left alone with this guy.
Yeah. So the bellhop gets the fuck out of there when a florist with a very thick, lustrous mustache walks up to the door, knocks on it. When the door opens, we see that man, and you know who he is? He's Holmes.
Cool mustache.
Yeah, he's got to be doing this undercover, though, so no one blows the operation and realizes that everyone involved is with the police. And he's actually here to deliver intel on a man named Bert Gannon, who...
he fights with Link every single one of the Legend of Zelda games. It gets annoying.
His younger brother was also Rich Gannon, who was quarterback of the Chiefs and Raiders in the 90s.
Oh, we got the Gannons and the Cobbs and just all kinds of fancy families in this.
We learned that Bert's the bartender here at this motel, and he actually served a prison sentence for burglaries, specifically of expensive jewelry.
Uh-oh. Sounds like the guy.
This is a real good suspect. However, Yo-Yo is hung up on one thing, which is his work schedule sort of makes it impossible for him to be our robber.
Why is Chris Estes not here figuring out times? Because that's kind of what both episodes have leaned to. The counterfeiter guy, it's like he can't work 10 hours a day and counterfeit.
Because so many shows involve them, we've covered so many shows already with detectives and police officers. If you mashed all their halfway decent qualities together, they might make one normal functioning, mind. Unfortunately, that's not the case with them individually.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about if some of their characteristics and skills got switched around, and it was somehow the Silk Stockings guy who could read a book in 2 seconds.
Also, what if that guy could read a book at all?
Exactly, as opposed to his actual illiterate quality.
Chris Estes, God bless you. That almost rhymes in a lazy way.
Chris Estes, God bless. Yes.
Yeah.
Or they're like some sort of verse in the worst rap about old TV shows ever. Chris Estes, God bless you.
You say worst, I say most prominent.
Well, if it's not Bert, who could it be? And this is what I meant when I said it's sort of a locked room murder mystery on the premises of the motel, in that Holmes and Yoyo and Max decide we really can only be looking at 3 other people. The chambermaid, the cocktail waitress, and the bellhop. But they all do have clean records to their credit.
Before we wrap up this mystery, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more Holmes and Yoyo.
Max is heading down to the bar to show off the jewels to the bartender to see if he, ogles them in the same way that the bellhop did. And she does remind Yoyo once more, though, that he needs to act a little more affectionate. And she boops him on the nose cutely, and Holmes has to act quickly to hide the fact that shoots photos out of his body, because, again, that's the thing with Yo-Yo.
That's the thing with every robot cop. Come on, Brian.
So, I don't think there's going to be an easier time to talk about this, guys. Does he come photographs? I think it's possible. This scene also, Yo-Yo, I don't know why I didn't mention this before. Yo-Yo is wearing the 70s. He has a brown sport coat and white, cream white pants on.
There's a point for me anyway where seeing so much of this attire, at some point I'm just tuning it out.
You get
it's just in my head is, yep, this is the 70s. I'm not even gonna register.
This whole show
anymore.
feels like my dad.
Sure.
It's just a beige, not full resolution, just image of nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And even their room had orange carpet or something. It's just hideous all everywhere, everything.
Once again, Holmes is very concerned that Max or someone at the hotel is going to figure out Yo-Yo's a robot, since he doesn't have actual emotions or anything like that. When Yo-Yo reveals, halfway through the 2nd episode we're watching and the 5th episode of the show, that he can make an adjustment to turn off his fucking robot sounds.
Seems like he just leave that off at all times.
If they were worried about him getting caught. Also, I didn't know that those were external.
Right? I assumed it was sound effects.
I thought that was for audience benefit. I didn't know that the police chief is hearing one of his officers go boop, 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 boop when they read.
Oh, that sounds like a normal thing a regular person would do when they're reading a book.
I just feel like, dude, Yo-Yo, get that taken care of already. As he gets inside his little body panel on his chest, his calculator thing, there's something happens that Holmes and Yoyo did not count on. Maxine has doubled back into the room, and the most dramatic music in the show starts playing. how are our heroes going to get out of this one? Maxine sees Yo-Yo with his calculator belly hanging out.
I think that pretty much did it right there.
Yeah.
But okay, you're obviously going to get into this, Brian, but this made me
What? No,
annoyed.
you know what? No, you tell it.
Okay, so
You tell our audience what happens next.
essentially what they do to convince her that he's not a robot, or which, by the way, why is that? It's like, oh, there was something small on his chest, which looks like a calculator, must be a robot. That's the connection.
I feel like at this point, the rapport between Maxine and our leads has been good in both the episodes we watched. They have a very friendly vibe. I feel like this is the time you just tell her.
But they don't. What they do, they don't make up a thing like, oh, he's wearing a wire, so they don't do that. They just go,
No.
You didn't see it.
Yeah.
You didn't see it.
Gaslight the shit out of her.
They did. And it was like angry. It made me angry to watch how they did
just gaslight her over and over and over to make her believe that she didn't see it. And I mean, fuck, she goes so far as to say that.
In other words, I didn't see what I saw.
You didn't see what you just saw right under your nose.
Oh, Maxine, what have you done?
Oh, no. What if there was a 70s iteration of this song playing in this episode, and we found out it was a cover in Walker, Texas Ranger?
If you told me that song is from the 70s, I might believe it, because even the rapping that's in it, I don't know that you'd call it rapping.
No.
So, yeah.
No, I thought I had the same reaction you did when she said that line. I was like, oh my God,
It's one of
I'm
those
going to have to play that.
situations where I'm programmed, if I hear a certain phrase, it's going to set off things that have happened in our show, and anything Walker related is one of them. Or if anyone talks about the Power Team, of course.
Also, good usage of programmed. It fits right into the theme of our episode. You're programmed to think about Walker, Texas Ranger.
Definitely did that on purpose. Thanks, Spencer, for pointing out how clever of a host of an episode I am. Yeah, Van, thank you. Man, it feels good to get these,
accolades.
Yeah, they're really ringing in around Oscar season for me right now.
Speaking of Oscars, let's get back to Holmes and Yoyo.
And by the way, the solution that they wind up convincing Max of is that she saw an optical illusion that has something to do with like a mirror and a swimming pool.
It was
and the
really
sun.
scientific.
And then they just shuffle her out of the room.
Well, she's a woman in the 70s. They're just like, you're just a lady. You don't understand nothing.
They don't know anything. They wear skirts with their police uniforms.
We go down to the motel swimming pool where our camera does a tracking shot of a woman's ass all the way like into the motel, and then we see Holmes and Yoyo. Like, this shot is completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's very exploitative.
It's gratuitous, but it's not as offensive as certain things we've seen, but it's so out of place.
It's very 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very 70s film move. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the kind of thing Quentin Tarantino's done as an homage to the 70s.
Sure.
This is, you could show a butt in the 70s and people were like, all right, there's a butt, for better or for worse. Butts.
I was kind of surprised because the rest of the tone of the show is not really like that.
It really breaks tone.
So it was kind of weird.
Yeah, and this show, I think that's one of the reasons why this show doesn't work, other than the fact that it's bad and not funny. Is that
other than that,
tonally it is just
all
scattered.
over the place. Yeah, they didn't as does tend to happen with bad things. Is they definitely didn't have an idea what they wanted to do.
It's like when a gun gets pulled in the last episode, and that's not established. This is after a goofy Scooby-Doo chase,
right?
By the way, the guns, I forgot to mention this. Every show back then, the cops' guns were those little black revolver things. Were those just cop guns? Because I'm conditioned now to like the Berettas or what the fuck ever they're
I think
called.
they must have been like a standard issue thing at the time.
But maybe that's why. Fuck, what's the... I can never remember the basic
Carl?
names. No, I'm just trying to think of Yo-Yo, the main character.
Well, it's not a name.
That's why Yo-Yo, he's not even thinking about him being a robot and he's 427 pounds. He's like, you're just going to be wasting a bullet if you fire that gun, because it is tiny.
Oh, I forgot there is one other point to this scene, which is Yo-Yo shows us there are no limits to how fast a robot can blow up a pool toy for a kid.
Very necessary scene, too, as we find
you
out
see a woman's
later.
ass for about 5 seconds, and then you see Yo-Yo blow up a pool float.
Seconds before Yo-Yo blew up the pool float, we got to see Holmes try to blow up the pool float, which is very hard to say. I'm surprised I got through that. And he simply can't do it because I guess normal humans can't blow up.
I'm not very
pool
good at
floats.
blowing up balloons, so maybe just
Really hurts your cheeks.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people are better at it than others. Clearly, Yo-Yo's very good at it.
Yo-Yo rules at blowing.
He was programmed to.
That was one of the things they let him be able to do.
We're about to find out more about that because Yo-Yo goes into the bar, and again, he sits down next to Maxine.
At the start of a joke.
And
Yo-Yo walks into a bar.
Look, a Holmes and a Yo-Yo walk into a bar.
Why the long face? Are you some kind of robot?
It's because my face is long and I look like Andre the Giant.
Would you like a picture?
Just hit me on the face. Yo-Yo sits down next to Max, and she quickly is like, remember, we have to be affectionate. Like real couples do, you need to blow in my ear.
In this dirty, dirty bar.
And again, Yo-Yo...
At the motel, by the
Yo-Yo
way.
shows off how good at blowing he is and blows her straight across the room. And then asks her, did I blow too hard?
Did they make that entire scene with the little kid out by the pool just so they could make that joke?
Yeah, I like to think that the director was like, foreshadowing. Chekhov's blow.
I think what it was is he was like, okay, we've got the scene where he blows her ear and she goes across the room. People aren't going to understand that.
We
got to
need
do
some
another
context.
one. Yes.
We got to really spell it out for them. We're making art. They're making commercials. Inside the bar, the cocktail waitress just immediately notices that Maxine has an expensive ring on. Everyone that works at this motel must just constantly be looking at jewelry. Have you guys, we have all had a lot of service jobs, because I'm going to let you guys listening in on a secret. We're not exactly white collar types. It hasn't really been our experience.
I'd like to talk to you about crypto for a bit.
Have any of you ever really noticed anything about jewelry on a patron?
Not a bit.
It would have to be something so extravagant and they were waving it in my face.
Like
Otherwise, no.
Like a giant pendulum around someone's neck with a big flamingo on it?
Maybe a talisman that a little girl found in a gym that attracted a witch that's a bird to her. Something like that I might notice.
I will say, my 4th grade teacher had like 50 rings. I noticed that. There's like a mob boss sort of thing.
Well, she won a lot of World Series, so.
Yeah.
Just all over her fingers. She had like, it's like she had to have been like 10 rings on her.
Now, were there ever any times when she turned everyone into flies?
No, not that I remember, but she could have easily wiped her memories clean. So I don't know.
Have you ever put on rings and tried to do anything?
Yeah.
It's so, you can't do anything.
Isn't that how you call Captain Planet?
You have to mush them together and scream about the sun or something like that.
I tell you what, though, the other thing about, like, okay, sometimes you put on a ring and you realize that it gives you like an insatiable like thirst for power that you can't quite understand. Perhaps you're not the one meant to wield that power, but perhaps you need to unload that ring upon a small, hairy-footed man, a half man, if you will.
So any of us. Well,
yeah.
Maybe
and
I'm
then,
a little bit.
And then like one of his friends or something, and they got to go throw that ring into a big pile of fire.
Sounds dangerous.
I don't get it. What are you going for here?
Okay, so there's this guy whose name was J.R.R. Tolkien, and he wrote a lot of books and instructional manuals on how to eat Middle Earth. And that's what I'm referencing.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out, similar to the ring thing, I'm sure you guys have seen this, but sometimes people will have the thing where they have like talons. What the hell are these called? Nails.
Are you talking about birds?
No, they're talons.
People will have like the nails that you go to a nail salon to get
talons.
Yeah, like
talons. Yeah,
I don't know if this is
Right.
accurate, but like acrylic nails, maybe.
yeah,
or something?
things like that. But you see some people and they have like 6-inch nails. Katie has this person she
I've
watches
seen
on
that.
like TikTok and they have that. Apparently those people can't wipe their own ass because of that stuff.
crazy.
You can't do shit with those things.
What do they do?
So I guess they just
There's
rub
a
up
guy-
against a tree.
A guy came to prominence in the 90s, still around today, a guy named Trent. Guy's got 9-inch nails.
No way.
Yeah.
What does he do with those?
Not even kidding. He makes like industrial rock music.
6-inch nails like nothing.
Gosh, I
Yeah,
hate it
it's-
when you bite the hand that feeds you.
And you, in some instances in this episode, to keep cover,
Ow! I hurt myself today.
Yo-Yo might want to lean over to Maxine and say, I want to fuck you like an animal.
I wish she'd said that.
Just in the middle of this show. What's that, Maxine? I want to fuck you like an animal.
Ooh.
Yo-Yo, are you a robot?
Piggy, pig, pig.
This stupid show.
Ooh. No, all Yo-Yo has to say is more shit about alibis, because that waitress was working during the time of the robbery too. Couldn't have been her. You know what? We're married. We're supposed to be, showing that to the staff. hey, Max, let's do a toast. That's what Yoyo says. And then he breaks his glass by smashing it into hers. She's not really fazed by this.
No, not really. It's not a big deal, even though it would be in an actual place if somebody did a toast so hard that their glass shattered. That would be a big deal.
And now we get into kind of the episode's big sequence again of
the sex scene
of how we catch a criminal and put a baby inside Maxine with a robot penis. The
moon baby.
We see a police car out in the darkness, and inside it are the chief, the captain, and the guy that owns the motel, whose name is Cobb. I'm glad that you remembered that. Yes, Cobb. They're talking about the
Cobb
plan.
Vanth, a.k.a. the guy who found Boba Fett's armor after Boba Fett was devoured by the Sarlacc in both Legends continuity as well as now in The Mandalorian. That Cobb.
That exact Cobb, yes.
Cool. Played by handsome fella.
You're really narrowing it down there. Actor that's handsome.
What's his name? He was in Justified.
Timothy Oliphant. There we go.
Played by Timothy Elephant.
Also,
it's too close to that. It's just one letter difference between that and
I think those are in Lord of the Rings, too.
Elephants?
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Boiled elephant. Delicious.
Then the police car, the cops, and Cobb are running over the plan. The chief says, I just want to walkie Yoyo one more time and run down the plan since he seems dense or like maybe he's a robot.
Actual dialogue right there.
But really, this is so we can get the exposition and hear some jokes that aren't jokes. Yoyo puts the jewelry box out. It's kind of bait, essentially, for when the burglar sneaks in. The captain will be nearby with reinforcements if anything goes wrong, and Holmes is going to keep watch down in the bar and just kind of eyeball that bartender. But mostly what we see Holmes do is look really sad in a dive bar, which feels very right.
He's the kind of man you would spot alone in a dive bar, for sure.
Absolutely.
The plan goes off without a hitch, right, Brian?
Yep. Back in the motel room, the couple talks about having nerves a little bit, or Max does, and Yoyo's kind of comforting her, like someone might do on a honeymoon.
Yeah.
As they prepare for their armed robbery between midnight and 2 a.m.
Which, by the way, turns out to be at midnight on the dot.
Yeah.
Like, she's not assuming at all that they might still be awake fucking on their honeymoon. She's like, I'm going to go in at midnight, and they're going to be fast asleep, and I'm going to steal this jewelry.
And that's the plan. Turn the lights out as instructed at midnight and pretend to be asleep and then catch the robber. But to kind of kill a little bit of time, Max, for some reason, decides it'll calm her down to put a quarter in the vibrating bed. It vibrates, and then my interpretation of this event, and I don't believe I'm correct, is that by putting the quarter in the bed, all of the quarters go inside of Yoyo, perhaps, because he's a robot? Is that what this is?
Have you never ever taken your robot near a change machine? It's what happens. It just...
No, but really, what happened here?
I didn't get it.
Couldn't tell you.
It messed up something.
So this isn't just me, like, the coin-operated bed happens, you hear a bunch of change noise, Yoyo says, stop the thing, and then has to go into the bathroom.
Yeah, to make a minor adjustment, which she thought is shitting. I might use that. I need to make a minor adjustment.
I need to move my cod piece.
Brian makes so many minor adjustments.
Those are major adjustments.
Yeah, I have to minor adjustment like 4 times a day.
I had a major adjustment the other day. It was, boy.
It is an adjustment. I've never thought of it that way before, so I might steal that from Yoyo.
You often feel better afterwards.
You do.
More lithe and springy.
It'd be weird if you felt worse.
Oh, God, I feel so much worse.
Ever since I took that shit.
You'd be like, oh, I feel so much better when I'm constipated and need to shit.
What, by the way, a vibrating bed?
I've never understood what that is.
It? Yeah. Why?
I know,
Obviously, they got rid of them after 1976.
Right.
I've never seen a real one, but they come up in older shows
Old
and
ones,
movies.
yeah. But what was the point of it? Is it something like
it
kinky?
It is. It has to be.
Or is it supposed to be like a massage like she's acting like it is? Maxine's like, this will make me feel better.
No, but that too. I think they go hand in hand, so it's like a massaging bed for couples.
You know, they did fucked up things with beds in the 70s. They were like, let's make it full of water. Let's just pump it full
just
with the
fucking
whole
drown
mattress.
in your sleep.
You know what I like to do when I get good and horny? It's shake a little bit.
And kind of sink into the corner.
Yeah.
Bizarre concept.
While Yoyo is shaking quarters out of his robot penis or something.
Ka-ching!
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. Max does turn the bedside lamp off and pretend to be asleep, as instructed, and we get a quick flash to Holmes, and we see that the bartender and the cocktail waitress are still present, so we're not expecting them to be involved in this robbery. But the cocktail waitress is involved in the robbery. because in the dark, we see a woman breaking into the hotel room, and Max pulls her gun and says, "Freeze!" while Yo-Yo's still in the bathroom. The cocktail waitress, who is clearly the robber here, is not fazed by this. Max, again, tries and yells, "Stop!" as the waitress flees, and then doesn't really see a choice while she's still in bed and the waitress is fleeing to do anything other than shoot the gun through the ceiling of the hotel.
Which, in theory, could have shot the person right above her.
Yeah,
they slept.
It is terrifying. And again, a real tonal shift.
Well, that shaking of the bed really just messed up her aim. That's what the problem of it was.
Yo-Yo runs out of the bathroom, presumably change-free at this point, and then chases down the cocktail waitress robber when he sees Holmes leaving the bar, and they stop to talk and both fall in the pool. I don't really know how. They seem to have come to a complete stop, like they weren't in danger of falling in the pool, and they just sort of bump into one another and fall in the pool. Now, I get it a little bit because of one of them being 427 pounds.
This is the kind of thing that, again, this is not relevant, so ignore this if you think I'm actually critiquing it. But when I see shows like this, my brain thinks of it from a practical standpoint. The actors have to fall in the pool.
From a standpoint of, I've watched a lot of good movies and TV shows since.
And so, in my mind, it's like, well, these actors are not good, so this is the best they can do. And guess what? After you do it, they're wet. You'd have to dry them off, get the same clothes, all that bullshit. And this show is not going to take that.
No, if we had established that one of Yo-Yo's cool little perks is he's got a hairdryer that pops out of his armpit, I would believe that more so.
They just need the wife of the chief with her hairdryer. Problem solved.
I would think you wouldn't want to get a giant computer in a pool. Like, I would think that'd be a bad plan for a computer to go in water.
Let's find out. Let's throw my computer in the bathtub. Nothing bad will happen.
See if it makes it better.
Test. Holmes and Yo-Yo and Maxine try...
That's a sequel they made a few years later.
They try to fit... What a clumsy name that
Holmes and Yo-Yo and Scrappy-Doo!
And Normal! They're trying to figure out where the cocktail waitress went when we find out because she just peeks over a hedge and looks at him.
Like any great criminal.
Her getaway was cut a little bit short. And that's when we kind of find out that this is a twin situation. The cocktail waitress has a twin.
So stupid.
And to make this more relatable to the audience, because you might be confused right now, it's like in wrestling when one of the Bella twins is underneath the ring and the other Bella twin's about to lose, but the other one pops out and hits the opponent, and then the other Bella twin still gets to win.
No,
it's a lot like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Mm-hmm. They called it twin magic. Yeah. That's what's going on here in Holmes and Yo-Yo. Yep. Everyone is told to drop their guns in another repetition joke at this point, and Holmes makes a dumb joke. They've caught the criminals, guys, but they only did so after another little hedge maze chase. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just like the warehouse chase in the last episode. It goes on far too long. It's not fun or funny.
It's not even whimsical.
No, and it's not action-packed. There's nothing good here. With the criminals in hand, we go back to the police station where the chief IDs that, this stolen jewelry that the cocktail waitresses had, that is my wife Edna's. Turns out the bartender and the twins have been working together on this deal, and it's not to steal a lot of jewelry that they can sell. Oh no, it's to give the motel a bad name to force the chief's brother-in-law to sell at a low price.
What an elaborate, stupid plan.
Is this what got this guy in prison for jewel theft before? Another personal vendetta?
Another plot?
Yeah, I was under the impression that jewel thieves were in it for profit.
Yeah, money.
But,
stealing jewels.
Hey man, I'm looking at crime a lot differently now these days after watching Holmes and Yo-Yo. The chief at this point shakes everybody's hand. He's telling him good job. And you know when he gets to Yo-Yo, there's going to be something hilarious.
The Bunko Squad.
Just like that. And the chief shakes Yo-Yo's hand and it squeaks and he gets rust on his own hand. Everybody's confused when we get the end credits. And that's the end of us talking about fucking Holmes and Yo-Yo, except for how I should remind everyone, as the credits of this show do, to check out the Don Ho Show, and up next, Mr. T and Tina on ABC.
Do you guys know Don Ho? Do you know his song?
I absolutely do.
Tiny Bubble.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy.
Totally.
Yeah, he's like a, I mean, I don't know if this is true, like on the islands, but he's like a Hawaiian icon, at least amongst just random American people. Like, we all know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, good for Don Ho, guys. I'm saying that not knowing anything about Don Ho. He may be a horrible guy. So
Holmes and
keep
Don
that-
Ho-Ho.
Holmes and Ho. Holmes and Hose.
Holmes and Hose. Holmes and Hose.
So that's it for this thing. And
Thank goodness.
let's just... I don't know who wants to go first, but
I'll go
let's
first.
talk about what you think of this series, if it has any merit, if there's anything redeeming about it.
I will challenge myself to be positive, at least for a moment. And that challenge will be met by saying, at least they were trying something. I don't know. It seems like, I'm not an expert on 70s TV shows, but it seems like they were all
You probably
awful
will be in a few
boilerplate.
years.
Yeah. This one at least had a gimmick or a hook, and they didn't achieve it properly. They didn't do it well. There's a reason it was canceled after one season.
Yeah.
It sucks. But I don't know. I guess I'll give them a couple of points for being creative in that regard, because this is 1970. This wasn't after RoboCop or after all of those sort of things. This was somewhat new territory because computers and devices like that were new in the scope of humanity.
Sexy
at that
topic
point.
all the way up, definitely till now, but like in the 80s and 90s too, very prominent, would be capitalizing on kind of guessing. And I mean, I guess that's sci-fi, but I'm not even talking about that. Like in cop shows and things like that, adding an element that technically is science fiction.
It was just a bad show, and I'm glad we're done with it. But I'm glad we did this, though.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think of this pile of bones?
I don't think I have anything to add on to what I said the first episode. I just don't have much expectation for something like this, so it did not annoy me as it did you guys. It's it's 25 minutes. It's pretty quick and painless. It didn't bother me. Of course, it's lacking in just about anything that counts that you'd want in a TV show.
Yeah,
it has the era going for it, and that's unintentional. So I'm not going to credit it for that because they couldn't have known.
The cinematographer, or the DP or whatever, and the director, they're not saying like, let's emphasize the era.
Not a bit. No, it was nothing intentional. They didn't accomplish anything they set out to accomplish, and they didn't know what they wanted to. But I just don't need anything from this, and it didn't give me anything. So we had a perfectly pleasant experience. I
totally get what you're saying. I did find it. I think it's because recently we've watched a few 30-minute shows, Legends of the Hidden Temple and Goosebumps and things like that truly were empty entertainment that seriously did not get on my nerves. They were just whatever. And like this, a lot of it was period specific, the things that I did enjoy. But Holmes and Yoyo, to a point made earlier by one or both of you, I think could have existed as a serious show. And I don't know if it would have been better, but it would have annoyed me less. Because one of the things that get on my nerves is you're having jokes being told by, and I'm not trying to rag on these moon-faced men, but these aren't, I didn't find anyone in the cast particularly charismatic or with like a natural comedic acting skill set. So I think that's kind of a problem that made it kind of grating for me. But
someone should have stepped in and been like, all right, we're not doing any of these comedy elements. Someone should have put their foot down and been like, look, this show's not going to happen if we do any comedy. I'm canceling it now.
Yeah, and I found Holmes particularly unlikable. I just, something about him I don't really know. But yeah, it's not, and we're for sure going to cover more 70s shows.
Sure,
but
I like 70s shows.
I'll be happy to cover a better one that kind of gives the era a better name, because this kind of shows some of the good about the era in TV, like Van said, and that there's a little bit of experimentation with like the sitcom formula here.
I find it very open-minded.
Yeah. But there's also the downside of the 70s, and this is super sloppy. It's a lot of ideas just thrown at the wall and tonally kind of different from one another. And yeah, good riddance, Holmes and Yoyo, and hello, how you doing to what show? I have no idea, but Spencer Hendricks, who's on this podcast, Boob Tube Boys, he knows.
I will try not to do too much of an introduction to this, but I will say I get all these great ideas on shows to cover, and then when it comes time to pick, they all leave my head, and I'm like, fuck, what do I want to do?
You mean you don't pick a show that would have been enjoyable and then switch to one that sucks like I always do?
See, the thing is, I've had all these great ideas of shows to cover, and I'm not writing them down, and they leave my head. So then when the time comes for me to pick, I've got nothing, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I get nervous. So this time I did something bold and daring, which I like to think of as myself.
Smart
Bold
Holmes and
daring.
Yoyo, the most bold thing you could do.
I'm waiting for someone to actually do that and then be voted down and be like, we're not doing
And be
that
beaten
show
within
again.
an inch of their life.
I mean, even if it was a good show, that would be a pretty bad idea. But no, so the last time I followed you, you did Legends of the Hidden Temple. And I was like, you know what? I like that. I want to do another kid show. I'm going to do the opposite this time. We're going to modern day TV show, like really current, the third most watched show of 2021.
Okay.
Anyone
It's
wanna
not
guess?
Bones again, thank God.
Anyone want to take a quick guess?
Third most watched show, 2020.
Right behind, I wrote it down here, right behind Lucifer, whatever that is,
Okay.
and Hobgoblin Paradise.
No.
I made that one up.
Okay.
I just felt like I had missed a show explicitly made for me.
I think we should be doing Hobgoblin Paradise on this show.
The second one is called Money Heist. And again, I don't know
I've
what
not
either
heard
one
of
of
either
those
of
are.
those shows.
Maybe
They're
This
both on
Is
Netflix.
Us?
It's not This Is Us.
Good.
It's
Okay.
actually, and I'm hoping you
I
guys
want to guess
haven't-
too. I want to do a guess.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I think it's like F-Boy Island or something. You know how they have all those like reality shows with
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, one of those couples reality shows.
It does involve reality shows, but it's not really one at all. Well, at all. But the show itself, there's a reality show in the show. So
It's the Truman Show.
it's Squid Game. Did you guys watch that?
Oh, I haven't. I
haven't.
really want to watch
Yeah,
it, so I'm
cool.
excited.
So here's what
So
we're
that's
gonna.
supposed to be a quality show, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and I really it was a big deal like a couple months ago. People were talking about it a lot on the internet. We're going to be a little behind that.
I've
but
never done this for the reason I'm curious as to how you will handle right
Here's
now.
what I thought we're going to do.
Not
is
just this show, but any show that I actually wanted
like
to
this.
watch.
It's only one season. They've confirmed a second, but that's a while away.
It's a lot
we're,
like Holmes and Yo-Yo in that way.
we're covering. It's 9 episodes. I thought we'll just go ahead and watch the first 2.
Yeah, okay.
And then
I think
see
that's
how
the
the show
only way to
starts.
do this.
Well, and if it was a show that had like 10 seasons, you could probably figure out some other way. I don't know, if you wanted to cover something at the end, you just have to explain a lot of what happened between episodes or something. But in this case, I just figure we'll start the show, we'll watch the first 2. They're an hour long each. So the concept of the show is hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invitation to compete in children's games. Inside, a tempting prize awaits with deadly high stakes.
What I do want to say about this is that my favorite thing, and again, I haven't watched it, but I know the idea behind it,
Right.
is how people around here are like, say this is what happens under communism. No, you
Squids
fucking
take
idiot.
over.
It's about capitalism, you dumbass. That's the whole point. So anyway,
I'm sick and tired of these squids taking my jobs.
they took our jobs at the squid factory.
The first episode is Red Light, Green Light. I have seen this one a couple months ago, like when it was new and a big deal. So I've watched this one.
So they play Red Rover.
It's about squids learning to drive.
It's surprisingly what it sounds like, but of course you get the horrific twist at one point. So, hoping to win easy money, a broke and desperate G. Hun, which I was like, what's a G. Hun? But that's his name. His name is G. Hun, agrees to take part in an enigmatic game. Not long into the first round, unforeseen horrors unfold. And that is true. The second one is just called Hell, and it's split on
Very
whether to
to the
continue or quit. The group holds a vote, but the realities in the outside world may prove to be just as unforgiving as the game. So they have to pick between going back to their shitty lives and not, whatever happens when they do this thing, or continuing on whatever. And then I figure we can all kind of decide if it's something that sucks us into where we finish the season. Did we already, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But we'll talk.
yeah, because if I like it, it's 9 episodes. I'll just
finish
I
watch
will
it.
probably watch all 9 just so I have the
Agreed.
knowledge,
Mhm.
but we'll see how you guys feel about it. We'll talk about that when we do it. So it'll be something so different than what we normally do, and it may not work, but I'm going to give it a shot
And
to see how it
also,
goes.
while you guys are out there, there's a weird band called Squid, and they released an album last year that's really cool. I think it's called like Bright Green Field or something. So anybody that wants to listen to that, do that too. And if you want to watch us write articles about shows and stuff,
I don't think they can watch us
you
yet.
can watch our words appear on your screen.
We can eventually have our own personal webcams.
At boobtubeboys.com. You can also find this very podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at boobtubeboys. You can support us on Patreon and get access to bonus episodes by going to patreon.com/bootooinc. And there's also even baseball content on there because Van and I do a baseball podcast. 2 of them even. He does 3.
Man,
Too many.
busy
Yeah.
man.
There's bonus stuff on there. And for as little as $2 a month, you can hear all of it. What a deal.
That's a hell of a deal.
Bargain.
Amazing deal. We're individually on Twitter too, so holla at us, if you will. I'm at Loud Guitar Brian Van.
I'm at Manly Van Lee.
Spencer.
I'm at 3 French Hen, and that's the number 3 French_hen.
Absolutely. Thanks for sticking with us through Holmes and Yoyo. We will be back to talk about octopi.
And their games.
Coming up next is Boo Inc.'s movie of the week, Spencer the Love Bug. When Spencer Hendricks dies in a horrific breakfast injury, he gets reincarnated into a boll weevil who has a lot of love to give. Join Shelley Duvall, Robert Redford, and Michael Landon as the voice of Spencer on Boo Inc.'s movie of the week, Spencer the Love Bug. And don't miss guest star Brian Dennehy on a brand new episode of Perfect Brians. Brian Vaughn, Brian Cox, and Richard Dreyfuss are 3 Brians who live together in scenic Bryan Valley. Can their explosive Brian personalities get along? Find out on Perfect Brians, only on Boo Inc.